Alright, my fine friends, this is Ben coming to you from We got some pretty heinous weather out there, so we're not able to fish, or, well, we could fish, but streams are small here and we can't move, so we're going to tie. This is going to be a pretty much an all-purpose winter slash spring steelhead fly, but you could also use it, well, pretty much whenever, really, swinging for steelhead. Gonna have some rabbit, it's gonna have some barred ostrich, gonna have some rubber legs, and some other stuff, so hope you enjoy it. These techniques you can apply to other patterns as well. That's about it. So I've taken a liberty of just putting the thread base and barbell eyes and the trailing hook material on, because I think you guys don't really need to see me do that. If you do, there's plenty of general tying videos out there, I'm sure. These are real eyes. I think they're medium. But anyway, my first material. Oh, and make sure that on this fly it's going to have a trailing hook. I'm the king of using too short a loop of wire. I can't tell you how many times I've done it. It drives me insane. So in this case I think I'm okay, but you want it to fit at least a size 4, and for some cases at least a size 2 for steelhead. My first tie-in here is polar chenille. This is a really useful material. It's flashy, it's wispy, it's pretty magical in the water, and this is a UV pink. It's a hairline product. I'm going to try, sometimes it doesn't work, but I'm going to try to get the little inner cord piece out and kind of expand it. There, I broke it there. I think that's good. So I'm going to tie it in, and then sometimes the rest of it will come unraveled too. It just makes it thinner. It's not really a big deal. A little bit neater. Oftentimes I use this chenille just for the whole body, but today I am going to use it as a rib, and I conveniently forgot to get my actual body, which is here. And this is Mylar tinsel pearl. It's kind of a fat, this is a fat one. I don't know what size it is because I actually didn't buy this. I found this on the floor of a movie theater. It was part of some party decoration or something, someone's costume. My girlfriend could only laugh when I started scrounging for trash on the floor of the theater in Seattle. So I'm going to tie this in after the polar chenille. And my thread, this isn't really optimal thread. It's thick, but I'd rather use, orange or pink, but we only have so much thread here. We only had months to prepare, so we have all the right colors. So I'm going to wrap the Mylar tinsel first, nice and tight. And depending on what kind of thread you use, it also sort of changes the color underneath the tinsel. It's kind of cool to have a dark color under there, I guess. And just wrap it up. And I also often crowd the eye, not on trout flies, but on flies where I'm using a dubbing loop of Arctic fox, which I'm going to do here. So just give yourself plenty of room. That's probably too far up anyway. So now I'm going to rib this polar chenille and palmering it like a hackle, just with my fingers, so that I don't trap a whole bunch of fibers underneath each wrap. They're sort of unruly, but it's not hard. You just have to palmer it. That just kind of makes a cool rib and flashy chenille look at the same time. And there I'm going to tie that off. Tying it off can be You can trap fibers, but we'll pick them out later. Cut that. That's probably a usable piece to save, so I'll put that in one of my little compartments. And now for the Arctic fox. And the point of this is to prop up the ostrich that we're going to use. It makes a little buffer in the current and sort of allows the ostrich, instead of just lying flat, which also does work, by the way, but it doesn't look anywhere near as good. So this is Arctic fox here, Arctic fox tail. I don't really love this particular tail, but whatever. It's kind of a lot of underfur. It's probably about the right amount. Maybe too much, but cut that. So then you want to grab it by the tips, or grab it by a part of it that you don't want to lose. So that's about an inch in there, I think, and just pull out that underfur. And you may want that underfur. Some people tie with different parts of the fox, but I'm going to primarily target the guard hairs and just pull out all that little fuzzy crap. I actually forgot a step, so I'm gonna, usually it's fine, I'm gonna, so this is ready, my Arctic fox is ready. I'm just gonna set it aside for a minute. I forgot to tie in my rubber legs. I kind of have a rubber leg fetish based on the colors that they come in. This is fire tip with clear base, so multicolored, kind of cool. And these little flecks that you see, actually, it's amazing how they light up in the water. Looks very cool. So I'm going to cut this strand in half, of these 4 strands. Maybe I'll only use 3, but I'll use 4. And in this case, I want that orange to be towards the back of the fly. So I'm going to tie it reverse, and the reason I do that is so that the legs kind of naturally resist the current. And so they're going to be forward while I do my Arctic fox and my ostrich, which is, of course, completely unnecessary. Like, you could totally get away with just using one or the other. But when you're sitting in a boat with 20 to 50 knot gusts outside and nowhere to go, you might as well put one more material on the fly. And I'm sort of roughly orienting them to each side, about 4 or 5 on each side. And then trim these little guys. Okay, now I'm going to do my dubbing loop of Arctic fox. And I might just take a couple more wraps from even where I ended, just because I don't want to crowd it. So make my loop about 6 inches long. Go around twice. Not really sure that matters either, but whatever. And then put my Arctic fox in the loop and stick my, well, keeping tension below the Arctic fox so it doesn't go anywhere. It takes a little finesse to get used to this, and I don't even know if I'm doing it right, but this is the way I do it. And then I'm just gonna, we'll take a couple spins with my dubbing spinner. This is a new OPST dubbing spinner, and it's pretty darn good because it's very heavy. So you spin it once and it pretty much just goes, and it's easy to extract and insert into the loop. And let me tell you, you can't say that about all dubbing spinners. My old one, which I used up until a couple weeks ago, drove me insane every single time. When you've got Arctic fox and ostrich and stuff trying to sit in a dubbing loop and you're fiddling around with your dubbing spinner, it's not ideal. So I hardly even spun it there and it just went like crazy. So this is 240 denier, 210 denier thread, which I think is about the lightest you want, or anyway it works well because it doesn't break in a dubbing loop, and you can pull pretty hard on your loop to secure the materials, because the only thing worse than breaking your thread is to have your materials fall out of a dubbing loop you just took several minutes preparing. You can take a couple pulls on the hair, see if it's okay, and this one's pretty tight, so I'm going to start brushing it out so that any fibers that are trapped are pulled out. And the whole, the other goal of this is to make the cord, this is now kind of a hackle. You want that interior cord of the thread to be as fine as possible. So I'm not really getting any hair coming out, which is good. It means I won't pull my own hair out. And now I'm gonna, just like we did with the polar chenille, we're gonna just take our hands and kind of palm or comb like we're parting hair. Just pull those Arctic fox fibers back so that it wraps neatly, and then start to wrap it. And it'll spin around. The first couple don't matter until you actually get to the hair, and then you're going to be a little bit careful with how you wrap it. And again, I'm just palmering with each wrap, and I think I might have actually done this one pretty well, because I don't think I'm going to, well, I may not crowd the front of the fly, and these rubber legs kind of give you a little bit of trouble, but so just wrapping this Arctic fox here, palmering. Okay, now I'm going to secure it. Try not to, well, it doesn't really matter if you get some of the Arctic fox forward as you tie. It's actually probably good, because that means they're going to resist the current more. But I'm going to come back and brush them back, and then I'm going to take a couple wraps back against the base of it. Okay, I'm going to just give it a brush again. This will help get both the polar chenille and the fox. Alright, now I'm going to get some ostrich herl. I'm going to use dotted and barred, and this dotted stuff is brand new. By the time I get back, probably this stuff will be ready to ship out, and pretty neat. I don't think anybody else has it. And then the good old barred orange. So I'm going to cut about, I don't know, 5 of each, 6 maybe, because we have rubber legs as well, so we don't need too many. But I prefer, if I'm doing a dubbing loop where stuff has the potential to fall out, I'd rather have too much than too little, because you can always pull some out later on. I tend to use more of this stuff than Trevor anyway, but everyone has their style. I probably used, it's probably excessive, in which case, since I'm dealing with limited space here, I want to take some out. That's about right, I think. So I'm going to do another dubbing loop. If I were really good at this, I could probably put the Arctic fox and the ostrich in one dubbing loop, but potential for catastrophic failure is there. Alright, carefully insert them, leaving about, I don't know, 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of the stem sticking out. And then I'm going to space them, do a couple wraps, a couple spins of the spinner, and then so they're sort of held in there, and then kind of space them out. Maybe I'll pull them out if I want to. These are now creeping out just a little bit past the hook, which I think is fine. Pretty well spaced actually already, so I'm just going to snip them off about maybe 1/8 of an inch, and then you really gotta spin this thing well so they don't go anywhere. Because again, that is super annoying. And here we go. Now, ostrich has a tendency to get wrapped around the thread, so you just kind of manage that as it goes, and this one was pretty good that time. Another one, that time I got some wrappage. I give them a little test. See, I have a little bit of space. I gave them about 1/8 of an inch or whatever. Test and see if they're, it's pretty good. And in all honesty, there's not going to be that much. Well, you want them to be secure, but you don't want your thread to break either, and nobody's going to be pulling on your fly when you're fishing, so that's good. Just like we did with the fox and everything else, pull it back for a neat wrap, so you don't wrap over your fibers that you want to be laying down. So keep going as you do it, and then keep palmering as you wrap. Sometimes you have to kind of guide the fibers as you wrap, and just make sure they're going all the way around and not they're getting caught up on each other. Okay, so now I'm done with that. Take my thread and get rid of this dubbing loop. And the rubber legs are making my life hard. Damn you, rubber legs. People are going to be like, oh yeah, those rubber legs look like a total pain in the ass.
So why this color combo?
Well, based on the research we've done, it seems like a lot of people are using pink, and based on sort of our own knowledge, we know that pink and orange have caught a fair number of steelhead. I can't really explain some rivers. It's very hard to get me to use anything but black and blue, and some rivers it's all about pink and orange and white, and I don't have a good reason other than just my gut. But I'm sure they'll eat this. It's kind of the interesting thing about steelhead fishing is you can have all sorts of gut feelings and opinions, and they'll never really be proven one way or the other. But well, unless you don't catch anything, you can change it up. But sometimes you have a feeling. Now I have a little barred rabbit strip. Ideally this would be a micro rabbit strip, but we don't have those in this color, and this is pretty cool white and pink barred, and I'm going to put this over the whole shebang as a wing, parting the rubber legs, which I put on either side. I don't want to... Oh, and actually this is a good time to introduce this little advanced tool here, the twist tie. If you tie with rubber legs, get one of these. Just like the rubber legs themselves, I got that from Scott Howell, the world's most terrifying human being. No, super nice guy, but it just makes the rubber legs way more manageable. And I couldn't really do that in the front, but I tie quite a few squid rows, and these I always have a twist tie or two in my kit. So there you have it. They're totally gone and over with, especially the also the whatever it is, ostrich. Now I'm just going to tie in the wing, and I got a nice little, like a pretty narrow, fine tip of the rabbit, which is fantastic because most rabbit you buy, and I actually split this one myself. I didn't do that good of a job, but I did do a good job at making the tip fine. Because most rabbit you buy just has a super fat hide, and it's impossible to make it look good when you tie it in. Okay, there we go. That's in. Alright, now I just have one more step. Once again, this is not really essential, but where is it? One of my favorite feathers is a silver pheasant. It's just a beautiful feather if I ever saw one. This one's dyed pink. You can get it in all kinds of different colors, blue, red, purple. It's gorgeous, I think. My only complaint about it is I wish it were about 50% bigger. So I use these for little sea run cutthroat flies too, and the little ones are good for that, but for steelhead it's nice to search out the bigger ones. That one right there is, well, I might have a better one. Alright, I found that one special feather in the pack. I'm going to peel off the under or the after shaft fuzzy little crap that I'm not going to use. So I want to use as much of this as possible. I have a reasonable amount of space in the grand scheme of things. I'm going to part the feathers and to a fine point here, a little crease or whatever, I don't know, a corner. That's where I'm going to tie in. And the second most annoying thing in the world is having your hackle pull out, so I'm going to test it before I cut it. Again, you're not going to have a lot of tension on it, but it needs to be able to withstand your wrapping it. Alrighty, I'm going to wrap it again. We're going to palmer it. I don't have a ton of space, so I'm going to, as much as I can, I'm going to wrap the stem, one after the other going forward, and hopefully it'll be done by the time it gets up here and I can see what I'm doing and tie it off. Yep, not too bad. Try to keep my thread as forward as possible so I don't go over the fiber, the feathers I just tied, and then cut off the stem. Whip finish. Well, before I do that, I'm going to make a couple more wraps over this thing just to cover up the butts, but I don't really care all that much. And then whip finish. I like to do a couple. I didn't bring head cement because I've had incidents where it broke in my bag. It's not that much fun. There it is, and now I'm going to take off this twist tie, and the fly should start to look like a fly. I'm going to brush it forward to undo the effect of it being tied back. Get some brushing. Trim off some fat ends of the rubber legs. And that is it. And that is a fly I'm pretty damn confident will catch a steelhead. So you can get the shanks and the ostrich at opskagit.com. Everything else at your local fly shop for now. And probably forever, because we're probably never going to do rubber legs or whatever. But yeah, that's it. Cut!
Lovely.